Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. Going to get a little deep for a second here. I want you to think about what I'm going to say. Do you feel like life is okay, but something's missing? There is something that's pulling you. You're just feeling that there's something more out there, but you haven't identified what it is, or you're not even sure how to, or you feel kind of trapped in your life, your relationship, your job, maybe kind of disconnected from things, but you know that's not the way it's supposed to be. But you feel like you're floating on an island. You're near it, maybe you're swimming up to it, and it's not the island you should be on. Time for a change. And we're going to talk about that today, how she supports people in changing their lives. And I'm sure that she hears this from many people all the time. She is a shaman, I do believe. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I'm a practicing shaman. I practice shamanism. Yeah.
Got it. Dannielle Bryan joins us here on the program. Welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, doing good. Thanks.
So
Happy to be here.
The whole word shaman,
Yeah.
how do you define it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the actual definition of shaman is the one who can navigate the spirit realms on behalf of themselves and another. The word shaman is Siberian in its origin. And, you know, if we look at the history of shamans and how it's become a word that we use more mainstream, it's talking about a spiritual path. It's talking about the ability to access different realms, different states of consciousness. But when we go back and we look at these cultures and civilizations that had the shaman of the village, it was the medicine man or the medicine woman, the one who could see beyond what was happening, the one who could see into the spaces and recognize there's something more going on here. If things aren't working out, if you have illness, we need to look beyond just the physical, and we need to see what's happening at that spiritual realm. We need to see what's happening maybe with the ancestors. How are you in relationship with the land, with the nature spirits? So the shaman is the one who can start to see what's happening more holistically and see beyond just what is presenting in that moment.
And everything we're talking about here essentially comes down to harnessing the properties of energy, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So let's walk this journey.
Okay.
Somebody comes before you.
Yeah.
And just like we mentioned before, they know there's more out there, but they can't find it. They don't know what it is. You could call it your life's purpose. You haven't nailed it yet. Or maybe you have and you didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
That actually happened to me. Where do you go from there? How do you work with somebody to move their life forward and get them to a point where, man, life is really good?
Yeah. We start with talking about what's going on. What is it that is bringing you here? And sometimes people know. They'll come in and they'll say, this is what it is. This is where I'm stuck. This is what's working. This is what's not working. And sometimes people come in kind of like what you were just alluding to. I know there's more, but I don't know what or how to get to it. So, I call it investigative journalism. I start asking questions and looking at, okay, what's happening? Maybe what's the block? When did this start to happen? What was going on in your life at the time that you started to notice this place of feeling stagnant or stuck, or this pull or this call, or witnessing repeating patterns starting to show up? We all can recognize that in ourselves, or old habits come back around. And once we start to get to the sticking point, then we dive, deep down into that aspect. And once we land on something, we say, okay, this feels like what's going on for today, right now. Now let's get down to the actual energetic work component of it. So if I'm working with a client one-on-one, what that looks like is we discuss what's going on. We kind of sum it up. And then they hop on the table and we get into the energetics. So my skill set is that I can start to track or read energy, or intuit is a word, but tracking is a little bit more, it describes what I'm doing. more appropriately. So I'm following the energy lines. I'm going deep into those places of the subconscious. I'm watching what's happening in the body. So we start to move it. We start to shift the energetic dynamic, how it's laid down in our physical body and our multidimensional body, because that's really where the stuck, the pattern, the trigger point, the trauma of the past, whatever it might be that's getting in the way, is laid down in the field. And we need to bring a shift to that. We want to bring transformation. And that could be clearing it, healing it. I mean, there's a lot of little words we can start to talk about in terms of how do we actually move that. And then the most important part is, okay, now that it's shifted, what is that homework or integration for actually choosing into something different? Because it's not enough to just be like, okay, good, I went to see a shaman and she cleared my field. The real work is step into what it is that you're wanting. We've moved the debris, the chaos, the hurdles out of the way. Now it's up to the person to choose it, right? To step in, to say, yes, I'm going to do that thing. Yes, I'm going to pursue this. Yes, I'm going to follow that next step into more of what it is that I'm wanting, which is what I'm most interested in. The stuff that doesn't work, we need to look at it. We need to address it. We need to bring an awareness to it and, start to have some semblance of understanding. But it's not about, let's just talk about all the stuff that's not working. Let's move the stuff that's not working and get on with what we want to create in our lives. Get on with that which is calling us.
When you work with that energy, moving it, however you manipulate it, are you using chakra balancing? Are you using Reiki, forms of those?
Not Reiki. So Reiki is its own lineage. So the path that I study is rooted in Andean shamanism out of Peru specifically. And there are many, many, many different kinds of shamanic paths. Okay. There's North American, South American, Celtic, African, Siberian, Mongolian, Aboriginal. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? So many different kinds of paths that are going to have their own cosmology, the way they work with energy. Reiki is also energy healing, but it's its own lineage. And so there's a very specific way in which you engage the energy when you're doing Reiki. So that's not what I do. I have learned Reiki like 25 years ago, but it's not my practice. So we do work through the chakras, but the difference is it's not just chakra balancing. The chakra becomes the entry point into the field. So for me, what I'm doing is testing to see, okay, what chakra is holding the energy of what we're talking about? And then that becomes my entry point into the field. And then we start tracking into the subconscious, the conscious, the physical body, the multidimensional body, the emotional body, mental intellectual, the spirit soul body. And I'm looking at the bind or the density or the imprint really of the issue. The imprint is like a scratch on a CD. It's like etched into the field. And we want to be able to clear that imprint, which frees up the energy to move into a different vibrational state or frequency pattern. So it's not just a chakra balancing. It's the entry point in. And then we're looking at different things. We could do soul retrieval, destiny retrieval. We could cut cords, clearing those cords of attachment. We could be doing extraction work, extracting energy out of your field that's not yours, that you're carrying. We look at limiting beliefs. And so it goes within a session. There can be many things that actually take place, far beyond just that, like going in and balancing the chakras. That's a good way to bring balance energy to our field. That's kind of like maintenance is what I would say, but this is going much deeper than that.
You run deep.
Yeah.
You do. And that's a good thing. Is it safe to say, and you use this analogy, we all have a scratch on our CD.
Yeah.
we all of us, we're all, I'm going to say it, we're all beautifully broken. A lot of people should, a few years ago, don't ever say somebody's broken. No, we're not broken. Yeah, we are. I have a friend of mine who, he's a great musician, great local songwriter. And he has one song, and I've always remembered the lyrics. The core is still the same, but there's a few more cracks there in my shell. So I look at that as like, yeah, those are the scratches on the CD.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to buff them out so that we can move forward. You mentioned cord cutting.
Yeah.
Are there some things that we can do on a simple level to just cut cords, clean them up? And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, could you define it?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had my flashcards. I just taught a class and I'm looking around. I don't think I have them close. So anyway, cords. So if we could see our multidimensional field, it is made up of moving lines of light. And those moving lines of light are what go out and attach to another person, a place, a thing. Now, here's the thing about cords, Steve, is they can be to people, they can be to places, they can be to your home, they can be to land that you love, that you've spent time on. We can cord to the past, to past traumatic events. We also, and this doesn't get talked about very often, we will cord to the future. We will cord to the vision of the future of what we want. So with that high level, for all those who are watching and listening, we can cord to many different kinds of things. Now, we cord to people who we don't wish to be corded to, and we will cord to people who we love and care about, and we want to maintain a close relationship. In an ideal energetic state, we don't want to have cords to anyone or anything, because we want our field to be our field. We don't want interfering energy running through our field. Now, we are sensitive, energetic beings, and we're just going to cord. We're going to cord to our children and our spouses and our family and things and people who we're close to. So my perspective on cords is recognizing those that we can just leave intact and say, yep, I'm corded, I know it, I'm attached. And then there's those cords where we have dynamic. And even with people who we love, let's use spouses because it's such a fun playground. We are corded to our spouse or a partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And that's a beautiful thing. We're probably corded from the heart, but we also most likely have cords that hold dynamic. Right? We also have dynamic with our people who we're close to. We just have that stuff, that thing that shows up where it's just like, yeah, that. When you do this, I do this. When you say this, I feel like this, right? So it's laid down as a pattern dynamic. And those are the cords that we want to clear. Very simple to do if we can drop in and trust ourselves. Everybody's got the ability to be super intuitive and know how to work with their energy field. Now, the easiest practice is to just close your eyes, drop into your body. You're going to feel it in your body somewhere. You're going to be like, yep, that's where that is. So just trust it. We don't need to go in and try to overanalyze it. Using the pinky edge of your hand, you can come down and you can just think about a cord. Typically, maybe it's this big. It could be this big. It could be a little bit smaller. So you're kind of visualizing that in your mind's eye. You're thinking about, okay, that's where that energy feels like it is. Pinky edge of the hand, you're sliding down with the intention of cutting that cord, right? We're cutting it, and then we're pushing that energy out of our field. We're returning it back to wherever it came from. The fine print in this little process is that you need to recall your energy. If we're corded, it's a two-way street. So somebody's hooked into you and you're hooked into them. So if we cut this cord and we send it back to the person, we need to retract our cord from them. So I often, when I'm guiding this in classes or with clients one-on-one, I will say, visualize whomever we're working with, visualize them standing across from you. We're going to release this cord, send their energy back to them, recall your energy back to you. And then we want to let that dynamic or the pattern or that thing that plays out between us, we want to let that start to dissipate and clear. And that's the simplest way to do it. The deeper piece would be, why does this keep happening? What's the dynamic in it? And what is actually keeping that dynamic in play? And that's where I would go with them at that point. We'd release the cord and then we'd dive deeper. But a great practice, one of my practices at the end of the day is to lay in bed and say, where has my energy gone today? And then pull all my energy home. and then equally say what energy has come into my field and send that energy back out. So that's another very simple tool to use to keep the field clear. We could just talk about chords for like an hour.
Dannielle, my head is spinning, but in a good way, because I'm learning so much here, and I had no idea that you can chord to things that you want to attract, if you will. And interesting how, the chord retraction reminds me, I have a vacuum cleaner here in the office, and when you unplug, and it's like, and it just goes back into the vacuum and you're done. So that's the visual that I'm getting there.
That's my visual, actually. That's how I see it. I'm like, it just lines back in.
Yeah, give me back my cord. Yeah. You don't serve me. Maybe you're not worthy. I'm taking back my energy, my energetic cord. In my journey, and this is even in the last 6 months, and I'm bringing this up because it's what you just alluded to, who you give your energy to makes such a major difference in your life. And you don't even realize that you're putting any interaction that you have with anybody, aren't they taking from you?
That depends, actually. It depends on the position of both parties, because there is a space, and this is what I teach in my classes. There's a space where we can learn how to be in a relationship with another person where it's an exchange and there's a giving and a receiving, but that's different than taking, right? We can just hear it in the words. There's an exchange in the giving and receiving, and that becomes a beautiful symbiotic relationship. That becomes a relationship where we feel fed, we feel nurtured when we're with that person.
The way it should be.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there are the takers. And then there's the suckers. There's both.
Energy vampire.
Yep. The vampiric energy. And and we feel drained after that encounter. And yes, what's happening, Steve, if we could see it, those cords of light are coming in. I call them like sucker fish, right? And they're coming in and they're like, right? And they're latching on. And if we're available, then they find the place to hook in. And then it just begins. The energy siphoning begins. And then maybe we start to go into a little bit of this conscious or unconscious kind of place of then wanting to protect. So we pull away, we shut down, we retract. We're trying to push that out of our field. They're coming in stronger. We end up in a dynamic. We might end up on the triangle with them. We've got some victim, rescuer, perpetrator energy rolling around. But it's fascinating because once we really begin to pay attention to our field and pay attention to how we feel, and we know what is ours, we will feel energy that it begins to come into our field that is not ours.
Yep.
And then from that place, what we do, instead of going into this full stop, we can, depending on the situation, there are some that is just turn and leave, right? Obviously. And then there's some that we can't just bust a move in the moment. So now what? How are we going to navigate this situation? And we can begin to cultivate a way of strengthening and fortifying our own energy field so that as that energy is coming in, it actually just bumps into our field and it bounces. There is no access into the hook, if you will. And we can work with saying, thank you, but no thank you. And I don't have to go into full armor mode, but I am very clear with my energy, and I am very clear that this exchange, that's not going to happen right now.
Isn't it amazing once you start realizing this? And I did in the last 6 months of being in the presence of somebody, and right away in my mind's like, this is just not, why are you here? Why are you doing this? Or you're at dinner with somebody, and it's okay to be negative. We all got stuff going on, but you might be sitting there and you're like, why am I here? What am I doing here? Yeah. And in others in the past, you may be like, whatever, we're just hanging out. But then you realize I'd rather be home watching Netflix than here, because I'm just feeling like you're taking, I'm not giving you anything. I can feel you taking it. And my aha moment did come this year. I took a strength assessment test And I'm on the board of the Girl Scouts. They recommended for everybody, take this test, see what your strengths are. 30 minutes, answer a bunch of questions or whatever. I'm like, whatever. Number one, communication. Duh, that's what I do.
Right, yeah.
Number two, this blew me away, empath. I'm like, really? I'm the one that says to everybody else, you realize you're an empath? That's why you feel drained. I have a friend who's a nurse. She takes every third day off because she's just so depleted. Do you realize? And I'm one.
Yeah.
I never realized that. I figured, all right, it's probably top 15. No, top 2. But my point to all of this is there's so much going on here energetically in our lives that we don't realize what's happening. And we might feel a certain way. We might feel stuck. And we're not realizing what's going on. You can't realize it until you talk with somebody like yourself, or you study it, or you figure it out along the way. How did you figure it out? Where did this begin for you?
The short story, I'll give you the short story. Always intuitive, always had a place where I leaned into experiencing things or feeling things that weren't just right there. Even as a kid, I had this sense of like, there's more. And then that went on. Around 15, I guess, I started to get into essential oils, and essential oils have their own spirit nature and their own healing nature, which then began to open me up into deeper realms of understanding things. And then I could see auras in high school, and that was just something that was just neat. It's like, oh, I can see the energy around you. I could see it around plants and outside.
Wow.
Anyway, go on and on. I knew I wanted to go into the healing arts field. When I went to UMass, grew up in Massachusetts, went to UMass for a couple of years. And then I was like, I know what I want to do, and I would need to pursue it. So started learning about chakras. When I was 18, I guess that's when I first got initiated into Reiki. So 18, 19, everything blew open. It was like somebody just flipped a switch and everything came online at once. It was totally terrifying. That was not a cool experience. I didn't know what the hell was happening to me. So that kind of, but in the land of perfect divine orchestration, that's what began to push me into a deeper study. So I went to massage school, was doing that. And then as I was working on clients, I would get information. Things would pop up. I would become aware of things that were caught in a person's body, but I didn't know how to effectively help them move it. So was looking for something like, what's the tool? How do I actually help people? Because it is not helpful to say, hey, you got a bunch of trauma stuck in your low back. Good luck. I hope you figure that out. Right. So 2005, I came across the Four Winds Society. I had a friend who was taking classes, and beautiful school, Alberto Viodo, author, teacher, thought leader, has founded that. And I live in Utah. It was based in Utah. And they hired me to do massage for a private intensive they were running, canceled it last minute, said, we're sorry, we have a class going on. We want to give you this class. Go sit in and take this class. So I landed there by accident, like all good love stories. And 3 days in, I was like, this is it. This is the thing I've been waiting for, looking for. It connected all the dots, and it gave me a deep skill set to be able to effectively assist people in facilitating their own journey, right? That's what we do. I don't have your answer. I can't tell you. I can't make it happen for you, and I can't wave a magic wand over you. But what I can do is assist you in finding your own resource, your own wisdom, finding your own answers, and helping move the things out of the way that get in the way. And we need help to see our own stuff sometimes, right? It's too close. We can't see it. So landed in class, and that was it. That was 2005. And here I am. I teach, I work with clients. We created youth programs for our kids. We do a lot of different kinds of things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a testament to the way the universe works, how for you, it was an accident, but not,
yeah.
but not
yeah,
how
exactly.
you showed up for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're not a fortune teller. You can't foresee these things, but I get it. You can help somebody. I mean this in a loving way, get out of their own way. Because there's things all in the way. There's the energy, there's triggers, there's your past. That whole other podcast talking about, past lineage and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
That's
good.
And even the cord cutting. I learned, I know a little bit, but learned so much in the time that we've spent together. Dannielle, what's the best way if somebody wants to reach out to you, if they have a question, maybe you want to start a journey of change?
Mm-hmm. You can go to my website, shamanictwist.com. And you can reach out to me there. You can book sessions with me. There's a contact me form. So we can reach out there. And also our phone number to the center is there. I have a wellness center and studio in Utah, and you can reach out to the center, but that's the best way to contact me, find me.
Amazing talking with you.
Yes.
I have spoken with many people who heal through energy. I'm scanning my brain. I don't recall anybody that is as passionate and full of knowledge as you are. And I really do mean that. You kind of blew me away. And you said healing arts.
Yeah, the healing arts. Yeah.
You're it. You are the poster child for those two words, because you are the artist in what you do. Thank you so much for today. We're all dealing with stuff. It's time to move our life forward. So shamanictwist.com. Do I have that right?
Yep. That's it.
Beautiful. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.